Hey Facebook, what is going on? Joe Orsack here with another edition of Live Your Mission, Love Your Life, Live Your Mission Live, as we call it, with Go 7 Life, the sponsor of the show, guaranteed best price in town when it comes to life insurance. So, make sure you support the sponsor of the show, which is me. So I pay for the camera and the internet. I'm having fun today. We've got a super special guest on, and this is a really, really cool person, a person that I met in 2012 at the National Academy of Best-Selling Authors. We both had books out that had hit Amazon and had become bestsellers, and we've gotten invited out to Hollywood and to the event, and you met just a ton of amazing people, had a great time. It was just constantly one really cool experience after another. And I met a ton of really fascinating people along the way. And over the years, I stayed in touch with a few of them that really kind of stood out to me as just fun people and people that I liked and had a great vibe about them. And, I try to hang on to people that I really get along with. And I think that they have a good mission and message in life. And so here I am, 6 years later, doing a show called Live Your Mission. And I said, I need to bring this gal on. She's got something to say. And so here she is, Miss Laura Clancy. And I want to give her time to share some thoughts that she has on success and how to find it and live in it and all that sort of thing, all the stuff that's right in line with the page and the message that I'm trying to get out there and share. And so, Laura, thank you for being on. I'm so glad to have you. It's been so cool staying in touch with you over the years and just being your internet friend.
Well, that sounds a little creepy, but
your internet friend.
On the internet. Not live.
Not live. Where are you now? I don't even know I don't even know what part of the world you're in right now.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm East Coast. I live in the Washington D.C. area.
That's right. You said that.
Yeah. I try to keep it quiet. I don't like to tell people that.
Right.
Usually there's a reaction there.
Yeah. So we got some folks tuning in. Randall said, "Good message and live your mission." He's on board.
I'm all for that, Randall. Live your mission. I think when you live your mission, you live in happiness, and that's I think why Joe brought me on. I've been. It's hard to believe that's been 6 years ago that we met.
I know, isn't that crazy? Time flies.
It really does. And at that time, I was really into fitness. I was a personal trainer, nutrition consultant, and that was my mission, was to get people lean, to figure out that it's about fat loss rather than weight loss, because a lot of people think they just want to be skinny, but that's really not what they wanted. And what it led me into, especially writing that book and being around all of those incredible people that we met in Hollywood and then New York about 6 months later, I realized it's a bigger picture than that. All of a sudden my small world got bigger and bigger, which is, I think, part of my own success is hanging out with people that think bigger than me or think like me, not just, in that small world of personal trainer, nutrition consultant, and wherever it is that you are. Not that that's wrong, because you have to dig down and get good in your area of expertise, but you can broaden. And I think that is part of success, is always being curious, always trying to push yourself a little bit more, always learning more. So I've sort of broadened out and become something of, I'll call it a pivot coach, because I really don't know what else to call it, but I find that, I kind of like it too. A lot of times I'll get a call from someone out of the blue. It's a very bizarre thing. I don't even question it anymore. I hope it's okay to say this, I call it God's marketing plan. It's true. I will get a call. I happen to answer the phone, and it's someone who I haven't seen in years, and they're at a precipice in either body, mind, spirit, health, wealth, and they need they're stuck. They can't figure out how to get over whatever this problem issue is. And somehow I've popped into their mind and they call me, and then I help them get unstuck. And it's as simple as listening to them, because I firmly believe we all have our own answers. We just are very bad about being quiet and listening to them.
Yes. I've been fortunate enough to go through a number of different business coaching schools of thought and this sort of thing. Had some really, really fantastic training. And so I find quite routinely that I'll be in a place where I already know the answer. Mm-hmm. I'm having kind of that internal dialogue. Right now, I'm at a point where I've been so busy and I'm behind on really some money-making behaviors because I'm doing administrative stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is a $10 an hour behavior that I'm doing, and I'm missing out on hundreds of dollars an hour because I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
And I really need to hire somebody and give them these tasks. But then I have this whole conversation of, well, I'm not at a place yet economically where I can afford that person. And I'm like, I already know the answer to that question or that statement.
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm just being stupid. I need to do it. So
part of that too is that it's a little bit so it's going to take a little bit of maturity, or getting your brain wrapped around it, which your brain is already wrapped around, is what I'm hearing. You already know that, but now you're going to have to kind of buckle down and take that extra time to hire that virtual assistant. And I think one of the best things my mentor ever told me when I wrote my first book is, you're doing everyone a disservice by not writing it. I'm like, well, who am I to write a book? Who am I? And so you're doing yourself a disservice by not hiring, or that person who you can hire, that's their income too. So if you kind of wrap your head around that, instead of the control freak and you're not at a point, it's going to free up your time so significantly.
Yes. I've begun the process of documenting, because you got to have the job blueprinted and outlined before you just hire somebody and shove them into it. Because I want them to be successful, which means I need to have the responsibilities and what it looks like to be successful defined before I thrust somebody into that position. So I'm in the process of doing that. I've given myself a 30-day window to nail that down.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I had a good conversation with another very successful person a couple weeks ago. That talking it through with them really was an eye-opening moment for me. So it was cool.
Absolutely. And I think that's great. So you see, anybody who is listening to this, now they just got a little piece of advice that they can take themselves, because a lot of people don't realize that when you don't hire out for those little tasks that are, they're tasks that they're not menial, it's just time consuming. So that's a huge help in people who are starting their own business, or maybe a side business. Maybe they're keeping their day job, but they have this dream that they want to do X, Y, Z. Hire out for it, and it will help you so significantly get further and further along exponentially.
I've heard so many successful people say that one of the biggest catalysts for launching them to the next phase was hiring a person to offload tasks to that kept them from greater money-making behaviors.
Yep.
And that's definitely where I've been at for the last month or so. So I've really got to dial that in, and I have really committed to moving forward with it. So
excellent.
We're going to make it happen.
So now you want to talk about the
the volume here, trying to turn something down, and I think I just totally turned you off.
Whoops. Well, that's another, between internet friends and turning me off.
Yeah, I'm totally quiet at the moment. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Well, you know what? I don't want to take up any more of your time. There's the volume. Okay. I don't want to take up any more of your time with my crazy stories, because I invited you on to share some great information.
That's all good.
And I want you to do that, because I know you have some thoughts that you want to share with everybody, and specifically on the subject, the inner circle of success. So tell us a little bit about what that is, what that means to you, and define that for everybody that's tuning in.
Sure, absolutely. I kind of see success. I'm at an interesting juncture in my life. I'm getting ready to transition to empty nest, which just blows my mind because my youngest is 18, he's heading off to college. And in my mind, I'm only 16, so I don't know how that all works other than in some metaphysical realm. But I've been blessed to be able to look back and say, what does success really look like? And I was heavily influenced as a child by that song, Cats in the Cradle. I don't know if you remember that song. Maybe some of your audience members are a little too young to remember it. But
definitely remember it.
Yeah, so that song is about someone who gets later on in life and looks back and says, wow, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And they gained other kinds of success. And so here I am in my 50s looking back and saying, have I created my own success? And by other people's metrics, I think I really have. By my own, have I? And I realized that I have. I mean, by most metrics of success, I've been successful. I have 2 young boys, 21, 18, and they are good citizens. I mean, that sounds a little Orwellian, but they really, truly are smart. They're well-behaved. They're contributing members of society. They're going off to college. They're learning about more things so that they can contribute to the world. And I feel like I did a good job. I paid attention to them. I mean, was I excellent? No. Did I yell sometimes? Of course, especially when they were little. So, I didn't get everything right with that. But the ordinary days turned into extraordinary days where I'm very, very proud of that. I feel like that was a vocation. And I've sort of looked at life in different areas of metrics, like vocation. That was a vocation, which I didn't even know I was getting into. But I left my job. I was an accountant once upon a time and decided I wanted to raise my own children. And so I can look back and say that's success. A lot of people are looking for other areas of success, like making big money or being a best-selling author or, whatever it is. But I think the most important thing is to figure out what your success metric is, adhering to your own success metric. And so I kind of see the inner circle of success as creating a circle around yourself where the grass is green and your core values are the foundation of where that grass is rooted. And I think once you get really solid with who you are, you can follow your goals and then really see if you're being successful in them.
That's a very critical point. Not to let the world around us dictate what success is. I think that's probably one of the biggest areas of fallacy that the media presents to us. You're not successful unless you have the Ferrari. You're not successful unless you have the big house, that sort of thing. There are individuals that I listen to who, actually one guy that he's like, I have a big house. He's like, I have nothing in it. Like the TV on the wall is like literally a fake TV. It's one of those showroom things. Like I bought the house this way and it was there and I've never changed it because his metric for success isn't the things he's collecting. Mm-hmm. He has different stuff that is important to him. And you talked about your kids and raising good kids. I think that's a measure of success of great value. Mm-hmm. And we can have our eyes on one aspect of success and totally take our eyes off of raising good kids and raising good citizens. And what does it matter how successful we are in one area if we've lost our kids, if we've produced children that go off into the world to be horrible, human beings? We're certainly not furthering our success beyond ourselves. So it's absolutely very critical to identify what is success to you and not what the world around you says. That's for sure.
Right. And I think that you can recognize if you've figured out your inner circle of success when you're content and living your belief system. If you are out there trying to buy that Ferrari because, and I'm not a big believer. I don't subscribe to all of these conspiracy theories, but I do recognize marketing is smart, and they've told us, if you buy this car, you're going to be happy. If you do this, you're going to be happy. If you go on this vacation, you're going to be happy. And there's truth in that, because perhaps it was just earning the money and you were proud of yourself for earning the money to buy the Ferrari, but it's not having the Ferrari that's going to make you happy. Probably. I mean, maybe for some people that might be their metric of success, but I think that, you know, if it's not really your metric or your belief and core system that you're living by, you won't even know when you've gotten there, or you will get there and it really won't measure up to what you think it's going to be. And that's when you're like, well, now what? And that's when usually people come to me, because now all of a sudden they're out of balance with either body, mind, spirit, health, wealth, because it's all got to kind of be, balance is an illusion. Nobody has balance. I mean, nobody. Even the wealthiest people don't have it. And that's why I think some people turn to drugs, alcohol, whatever it is they turn to, because they're still looking for that thrill. So balance is an illusion, but I think as human beings, we have to strive for it and make sure that we're covering all of our bases.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give a shout out to a friend of mine who just tuned in, Steve Williams, and he's a regular guest on my Wine No Wine show on Fridays. And he said, my mission, get a live donor kidney and then get a new home for us. He needs a new kidney, so that's why I'm giving him a shout out right now. He gets dialysis every week, and so anyway, I wanted to just give him a quick shout out. He tuned in to catch the show, and he said, great stuff, y'all. I'm showing his next second, gotta run, but great stuff, y'all. So he popped in for a few minutes just to catch a little bit of what you had to say.
Well, and, Steve, you're in my prayers for a new kidney and getting that new house.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you recognize success? I mean, I had this up on the screen. We were kind of touching on that.
Yeah, I really think that you know how to recognize it when you're happy where you are. You know, happiness also is a word. You know, you see Essence of Happiness is the name of the book, and it's 3,000 pages long. That's what essence is there in that. Happiness means different things to different people. Sometimes it's when you've got your dog and you're walking. But, you know, if you're constantly thinking that outside of that inner circle that's you is happiness, you know, I think it's finding happiness where you are. And I don't mean to make it sound so Pollyanna as if it's always easy, because it's not easy. You know, we all have stuff that comes up in our lives. And I think it's sort of living in the flow somewhere between letting go and letting God, and God helps those who help themselves. Like trying to find out where that balance, that elusive balance is.
Yeah.
Living in faith, I guess.
You know, I think a big aspect of it is that, you know, if you commit to whatever endeavor you're on with all of you, right, and you're genuine in that process, then it really doesn't matter if you're not measuring against other people and you're not measuring against other people's success. You define success for yourself, and then you've committed to your mission with all of you, right? That's all that you can ask of yourself. That's all that God can ask of you. If I'm working on mastering my craft, if I'm daily pushing forward and striving to be better than I was the day before, whatever it is I'm doing, then I can have peace in that and learn to be then both content and grateful for where I'm at. I think that's a big root of happiness. I really think a lack of happiness stems from a lack of commitment to our mission in life. First, not to seek it out, and then not to give everything to it.
That's right. Well, and that's a place of confusion too for people, is finding their mission. And I think it's just so inherent. Even if it's something as ordinary as raising kids, most people would see that as ordinary. That's not extraordinary, but the result is extraordinary. In my opinion, I feel very good about that as a vocation, whereas going through it, it just felt ordinary. Like, you go to cocktail parties, people say, what do you do? At that point, I was a stay-at-home mom. Nobody really had anything in common with you. But I stayed the course because it was important to me. I knew my core value was to raise my own kids. I didn't want the cats in the cradle. I didn't want that. I'm telling you, I was very heavily influenced by it. In fact, my 18-year-old, as nice things as I have to say about him, if he really wants to get my goat, he'll just, walk by and say, well, Mom, cat's in the cradle. Because when he got older, I got busy. I increased my mission, and I wanted to help others with that fat loss, as we were talking about at the top of this broadcast, that my mission was to help as many people as I could. Well, what would that look like? I had a coach. He said the fastest way to do that is write a book. So I did. It wasn't about being a best-selling author. It was about growing my business. So it was multifaceted.
Sure.
But it was really about sharing my knowledge with people in a fun way that might pull them in and have them get their bodies in shape so that they could live a better life. Because if you think about it, all of those things that I talk about, body, mind, spirit, health, wealth, if any of those are out of kilter, if your body's not healthy, then you really can't go higher in Maslow's pyramid, right? You can't think about how you can help others. You've got to put your air mask on first. So anything that I can do to get people out of that lower level of the pyramid is what I tried to do. So I wrote a book. That was my goal. Let me share my knowledge. I'm doing people a disservice if I don't do it. Well, I did that, and then it became a bestseller, and then it won an award. So it's things like that. It was doing, that might have been a little extraordinary, but then the end result was extraordinary. And that doesn't always happen, but I was living my mission.
That's all you can do. That's the way to go about it. And it's crazy with, you had your coach telling you, when you start tuning into the more focus you got on, like success is just a symptom of, for me, I believe success is a symptom of living in line with your mission. Mm-hmm. You have the energy, the stamina. I was talking about this last night, literally with a friend of mine, where I said, if you are not pursuing your mission, and you're working for somebody else and doing all this stuff, I'm like, you're doing everyone a disservice in that process, because you aren't interested in, so they were like, how do you get interested in, he's like, my grandfather was a salesman for a pipe fitting company. He's like, how's a mission in that? How are you passionate about that? Because if you're doing these, I'm like, because it has nothing to do with that thing. I'm like, you have to look at what the outcome is and what outcome is, how that outcome is impacting or servicing the world around you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if you have no connection with that, then get the heck out of that job.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're going to be miserable, and you're going to make everyone around you miserable.
Exactly right. So
another example I have from my own life, not that anybody wants to hear my life, but even something that you're putting your air mask on first, right? That inner circle. I was fat on and off all my life. As a teenager, I was particularly overweight, and I decided I was never going back to a high school reunion fat. So every 5 years in between the reunion, I gained weight. And anyway, I digress. But I found out when I went to personal training school that I was strong, and I decided to become a power lifter, which is squat, bench press, and deadlift. So all I did was get better at that, better and better and better. And what I found was, because I was in my 40s and now I'm in my 50s, I was inspiring others, because they would look at me and say, well, that's an interesting sport for a 40-year-old to pick up. And the better I got, the more I inspired others. So even
you're not in your 50s.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm still 16. But even things like that, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. It actually, both of my kids now are power lifters. And so it inspires, that's not what I set out to do. I set out to save myself. And I think sometimes if you're not happy, nobody around you is going to be happy. And I think that you can definitely inspire others by taking care of yourself, because they see you and they want to emulate that. So, living within your circle and your beliefs, my belief was, or my goal was, to never be fat again. The byproduct was I became a power lifter. The byproduct of that was and I only say that because people have told me that I've been an inspiration to them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's funny how, like, we're just talking and having a conversation. You set like bullet points, in the email, we're going to talk about certain things along the way. It's the natural flow of the conversation. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the next bullet point. And I look at the next bullet point, and the next bullet point says, how to find happiness in the inner circle of success. I'm like, well, that's what we've been talking about.
Exactly.
That's 5 minutes.
I think I told you, Joe, that I do write, and I'm a little off my game. I haven't written in a long time. I've been very focused on getting educated further. Like, I just got my massage license, and anyway, so I haven't written in a while, but I do improv, and that's another thing that's kind of fun. Short form improv, like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
And so it's got to be improv, because if you don't have that live energy between people, I don't think it feels authentic to the people listening to it.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Nicole Thalji, she's actually a sponsor of my Wine to Wine show, and she's a fantastic real estate agent. And she chimed in, and I'm trying to put it up on the screen here. And of course, as soon as I say it, I'm going to do it. Then it doesn't work, right? I'm like, where's it at?
I can see it. You want me to read it? Put it up. Great stuff. Hi, Nicole. Success is how you, each individual, see it, by definition.
Oh, cool. I don't know why it's not on my screen.
It's not meant for you to read it.
I know. Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to read it. There we go. And she's a super sweet gal. Love her. Just a great attitude. And it's so like her to hop in and tune in for a show on success, because she's always focused on that and how to strive and be better. And I think she's up in Austin, Texas right now doing a little vacay, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, success is how each individual sees it and defines it. I think it's the defining part that is really critical. It's to be intentional, right? And another phrase that somebody shared with me recently here was the difference between a highly successful person and a person that hasn't achieved success is actionable, measurable goals on the calendar.
Oh, yeah.
That was like a short little phrase. Actionable, measurable goals on the calendar.
Well, that's interesting, because I do it a little bit different, but I think it depends on your personality. I do agree with you, because it is measurable, right? And again, it's got to either be measured from within or someone else's seeing. Sometimes you don't know your own success. A lot of people feel it's elusive, whereas other people are looking them as successful. I think we are constantly comparing how we feel inside to how others look on the outside. And everybody's got their inside that they're trying to kind of hide from people, because we all know we're imperfect, and nobody really wants to go around saying, hey, I'm imperfect. It just sort of doesn't show very well when you're trying to be a success. But I think there is success in that, actually, because then it makes you human. But for me, I actually wrote down, I'll give you this. Let's see, I'm going to read it out loud, so it might lose a little energy. But to me, steps to being successful are as follows. Define what success is to you. Set the intention to achieve that success. Believe you're going to achieve it. Plan the work you think you'll need to do to reach that intention. Be okay that some of the work you think you need to do may not get you to your goal, but that's okay. Keep on replanning. Work the plan you create, and if and when it goes awry or doesn't seem to be working, let go and enjoy the ride anyway. Success comes in the trying to achieve that goal. In fact, I personally believe that if you don't get married to the process of every step involved in reaching that goal or a timeline, you'll find yourself living a life filled with optimism, wonder, and hope. That's success to me, actually. So living somewhere in between letting go, letting God, and letting go and letting God, and where God helps those who help themselves, is where you live in the flow or the magic.
I love that. There was several points in there along the way that I was like, ooh, I like that. Believing in that goal, believing in the outcome, that's such a huge part of it. Actualizing, seeing where you're headed, all that sort of thing. It's a really critical component. That's something that I think a lot of people, so many thoughts in my head that I have like rabbit trailed on. I'm where do I jump back to clarify this thought that I'm having? The brain doesn't care what you give it to work on. It's just a processor.
Yep.
And so, I talk a lot about fear and how fear immobilizes us and will cause us not to act. And fear, one of the most profound things I ever heard was actor Will Smith say that fear can only exist in our thoughts of the future.
That's right. If you're living in the present, then you can't be fearful because you're okay right now.
Yeah. So it's you're projecting into the future an outcome that's negative. And I'm like, with the same energy and with the same effort, I can project an outcome that's great.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Why not do that?
That's right. And, I put things down on a calendar, just like that guy said, but I'm not a planner. Like, I can't plan. I just have to say, that's me. That's because I can't plan. I'm just not a timetable person. I mean, I guess I can plan, but it's not my highest and best use. So for me, just setting it out there and trying to give it a timeline, but recognizing that I may not hit it. But if you're always trying to strive for a goal, you're always going to be further along than you are now. Always.
Yeah.
You're going to meet people, you're going to find out things, you're going to be in a better place because you're really living life as opposed to sitting behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And wondering how you can be like that successful person.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great comment. It's on the screen this time. Nicole said, if you are chasing the Joneses, you're chasing their goals, not your own. Having best friends and neighbors by the last name of the Jones, we truly laugh about us achieving many of the same goals. That's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
That's kind of funny. I'll have to get some neighbors that are named Jones just so I can have that fun. My family does martial arts, and one of the families that we were kind of same rank, and our kids are similar ranks, and we were all testing together and all that sort of thing. They were the Joneses, so I can say we were keeping up with the Joneses.
Perfect. The other thing that I came up with, and I'm going to read this because I think, I want to make sure that people get information that's not just talking, because I think talking is really important. You get information out of it. But I also thought that since defining your unique success is something that I feel is important in those steps, that I'll help you define your unique success. So defining success is simple, but not always easy. Over the years, we learn other people's measure of success and then find ourselves at our wits' end trying to discover our own unique purpose in life. It's important to realize that everyone measures success differently, especially you. It's equally important to be okay with your personal success definition not matching anyone else's. In fact, guess what? If we stick to our own metrics of success, we can aim to achieve them more easily and know when we get there. The cool thing is that following your own success metrics takes our all-pervasive victimhood point of view out of our mindset because we only have ourselves to check in with. Going for our own specific goals and doing daily, weekly, monthly, annual, and 5-year check-ins is really powerful. It doesn't mean that we work alone, but it does mean that we can more clearly make small and big choices to reach our goals. Taking this job over that one, deciding who to hang out with in our inner circle or who to avoid after work, choosing extracurricular activities because become easier decisions when you hold the expected outcomes up to your metric of success and decide those choices are more or less likely to take you to your success goal. I have just a few more. Sorry, I'm just blah, blah, blah. It's called strategic living, and it takes effort. But the effort is worth it when you're going for your success goal. Since success is subjective, there are no real objective answers to what success is. And to complicate things even further as we experience life and hopefully mature, we evolve our definition of success. For some, success is making hand over fist money, owning a big house, a Ferrari, I think we said Ferrari or something like that earlier, having a company with hundreds of or thousands of employees. But for many people, success is raising a family that loves one another, helping the most help the most, living a simple life, learning as much about anything and everything. At the end of the day, if you're aiming to achieve the money metric and you only care about making money, your success goals may be compromised if that's not really important to you. Here's where it gets tricky. Many people strive to reach their success, but they're either reaching for someone else's definition or afraid of being ostracized for having different success goals. And that's when the yeah buts come in. But it's really their inner mind saying, that really isn't my goal. So when you find yourself saying yeah but, start to reassess. Think about your core values. Who are you at the core? And that's your inner circle.
Very good, very good. We've had a number of people chiming in and commenting there along the way. It's so critical when we define our success. You said like these check-in points, these check-in moments. If you really understand what your mission is, what you've been created for, what your goal is, I mean, there's so many different ways to say it. I don't want people to get hung up on words.
Right.
Mission, purpose, all that sort of thing. There's you can use Bible speak words like ministry and this sort of thing. But even the word like ministry, if you go back to look at original Greek language and this sort of thing, diakonia, from the Greek, means to serve. Right? So, a mission, a purpose, all that sort of thing is serving, right?
Right.
When I'm in line with my mission, I'm serving. I believe I was created, so I believe I'm serving my creator. And through that serving, I'm also serving my fellow man. I'm bettering humanity. I'm being a blessing, again, to use more Bible words. But pick a word you like, and however it fits in or however you describe it, as we do our mission, as we move forward in our purpose, our calling, we are serving our fellow human and making the world a better place around us. And sometimes that's serving our children, and we're serving society around us by really focusing on our children and making champions out of them, making good people out of them. And it's sad when our society around us looks at a mom and says, you're less than because you're not out pursuing the 9-to-5 corporate job. That just blows my mind. We experienced the same thing. My wife was a full-time stay-at-home mom for a bunch of years, and she was a phenomenal mom. Is still a phenomenal mom, and she just a big reason why I think our kids are really great little human beings is because of how much effort she put into them. And the world is going to experience her blessings and her service for the next generation.
That's right. And also you, because you supported her. Listen to how nicely you're talking about her, see, and the family feels that. So that's just, you guys are all really, truly supporting each other, which is awesome.
Judah said, she goes, once we know who our creator meant us to be and walk in it, that is success. And I 1,000,000% agree. It's saying the same thing in a different way.
Exactly.
When you know what your purpose is, when you know what your calling is, your mission is, and you live in it, that's success. And sometimes that's in the moment, like we just talked about, in being a mom. And embracing it and being okay with it. It's not bad to be a mom.
Right.
It's absolutely great. It's wonderful.
And I think as you said, it's words. You have ministry, you have mission, you have purpose, and people do get caught up in those words. I think it's really a feeling or something. Again, it comes back to that core belief. I didn't know mom was, I didn't even look at the big picture. I didn't know exactly what that meant. The only thing I knew was my goal was I wanted to raise my own kids. If I had them, that was important to me. It may not be important to other people, but to me, that was important. I made it happen. So I committed to whatever that goal was. And of course, if I had changed my mind along the way, as the kids got older, obviously I got into other things. I became a trainer because I didn't want to be fat and blah, blah, blah. But see, you can see then there was no real purpose. There was just this goal. And so it became my purpose. And it expanded out from there, including I didn't want to be fat. That was my goal. Well, look at all the cool things that have happened since then and the opportunities it's opened to me. But I didn't go out and say, well, what's my purpose or mission in life? I don't think you can. I think people, one of the places I see people struggle is trying to find that. And I think it's a word. It's
Sure.
that they're trying to, like, what's my purpose? What's my mission? You find it along the way as long as you're following your own compass. And it's partially, well, it's mainly a feeling more than a word. I think that we try our best to use words to describe things that are feelings. So, if people are struggling with that.
I think it's not uncommon to struggle with it, and I think it's a know thyself. It's absolutely a critical process to go through. But I think if you examine your life, both negative and positive experiences, and where that led you, both from pain and from happiness, you can start connecting dots in purpose and mission. Because I don't think we were talking about this before we went live about. There's an old text, an old scripture verse that says that all things are working to the good of the person that loves God. It's called according to God's purpose. Well, it's hard for us to embrace that idea, when it's a negative thing, like or we perceive it as negative. Something bad happens in life, Well, those moments can shape and form you just as much as any positive experience. And I think if you spend time looking at the mountains you've had to climb in your past and the valleys you've walked through, you can start seeing a theme that, for me, I believe, points you towards what your purpose and what your calling is. Because those struggles, those trials are part of what shape and form you, and the walk through those then make you a better guide for other people that are walking through them as well. And I think that's a big part of the process of finding purpose and finding your particular mission and calling in life.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Life is full of, it's a string of ordinary moments. Some of those ordinary moments are excruciatingly painful. Our house flooded in 2006. My in-laws' house burned down in 2005. We've had our trials as well. But what I learned from that is more compassion to others and things like that. So I think that when you string along those ordinary days and strive for the extraordinary in those days, you've reached your magic. And it's not always easy. It's simple, but it's not always easy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what life is about, right?
Yes. Simple is a measure of the complexity. Easy is a measure of the effort.
Yeah.
And they're measuring different things. And so, the tasks before us, it's some of the stuff in love your neighbor as yourself. That's simple. It's not always easy.
That's right. Boy, that's right.
So I mean, it's the same principles when it comes to success. The principles of success really are easy. I mean, simple. I talk about them with all these different people. I've noticed that it's always similar themes, always similar messages. It's not like it's a mystery. There is a formula to success. And it's just working it. The working it part is where you lose everybody. Yeah,
that's right. Because human emotions get involved, or fatigue, or, all kinds of things get in the way. But again, you get to go to sleep every night, reset, re-aim, and evolve. We're always evolving. One thing might change our mind overnight. And you've got to also look at the evolution of who you are becoming, and then put your core values. I have found, I go through and I do my core values pretty frequently. My top core value is mutual respect. And I have found every time I've gotten into trouble is when there's lack of mutual respect. Every single time. That hasn't changed. But some of my core values might change. And I think it's always checking in and reassessing who you are as a person and how you've evolved through these good times, bad times, ordinary times, extraordinary times, and just be okay with where you are. Again, I think you are successful if you're happy. That's what I think.
And the happiness thing for some, for a lot of people is elusive. And that kind of goes back for me to the service thing. At least when I know that I'm serving and both for me, God and humanity. Everything I do is going to be, for me, I've dialed down this statement: find, share, inspire. My mission, purpose in life is those three words: find, share, inspire. And what I mean by that, to break that down, is my goal in life is to find things that work. And when I find something that works, to analyze it, tear it apart, understand it as best I possibly can, then to share that with people, right? So that they can also experience something that works. And because I've learned that you can step on toes when you start sharing things like how marriage works and how to raise good kids and all this, you can offend people. So I've had to learn how to share things in a way that inspires them to take action. And action towards greatness, not just any action like punching me.
Right. Yeah, that's funny.
So find, share, inspire. That's my mission. And so everything I'm doing now, I can go back and ask, is it accomplishing this mission? And if it's not, I can weed it out. It's a distraction. And so you have to be willing sometimes to say no to good things in order to stay focused on great things. Because another principle of success is that once you start achieving, people see that you're achieving and they want you to achieve for them. They want you to achieve their thing. And it's easy to have a lot of good opportunities presented to you. And if you don't really understand what your core mission is, your core value, the thing that you check back in with all the time on the regular, then you can get off track. You can get off kilter, and that leads to unhappiness. So.
Yep, that's absolutely true. And that's kind of how the whole inner circle thing came to me last week, was that I was looking at other people in these circles and I'm like, well, why am I not invited in that circle? Why am I not invited in that circle? And then I realized I had just been invited to this really cool thing. It was my inner circle and it lines up with my mission of educate, entertain, inspire, which is why a lot of decisions I make that I'm sure to an outsider, they're like, wait a minute, that's a different direction. Wait a minute, that's a different direction. What do you really offer? What do you really, and it's a little bit confusing to others, but it always stays within that entertain, educate, inspire. That's my mission in life. It's very similar to yours. This is really important to me. So I make my decisions, yes or no, in my inner circle as to what I'm going to do under that category. And it may be, one of my big goals is to write a book upon which a musical will be based. I mean, I think that is cool. That is totally outside the scope of what I'm currently doing, but I still think that fits within that mission, and it's a goal. And you know what? Even if it doesn't happen, if I strive toward it, I'm going to get further along in life and inspire and educate others. So
inspire, educate. I was just going to say, entertain.
Entertain, yeah.
So it absolutely fits within your mission statement. You just said it certainly builds passion in us to help others.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big component for me of success, is when you understand that you are serving people, that you are helping them, that leads to that happiness. That my background was psychology, and one of the things I heard in treating depression was, if you're depressed, go serve other people. Volunteer at a soup kitchen. Because what happens is that we see that other people are struggling, other people are suffering. And when we serve them, that uplifting of them, it's amazing how it eases our own depression.
Yeah.
And so you can avoid depression, almost entirely in the first place by understanding what your mission is and how it serves humanity around you. So then you stay in a constant state of service. And, that's a powerful thing.
That is very, very powerful. I did not know that. That's very powerful. And I think, you look at things that are going on in the world, and especially young people that don't feel good about themselves, because the internet is a wonderful place, but it's also allowed us to even more compare our inside to what looks like their perfect outside world. For me personally, I only post good things on Facebook because nobody wants to hear my sorrows. Maybe if I need a prayer or something, that's different. But if people were to look at my world, it looks perfect, and it's not. But, it's just how I choose to show up on the internet, not because it's showy or show off. It's just what I think people I just want to share the good, because I don't think it's a place to throw bombs out for people to just, like you said, you've had to handle a lot of people and their opinions being different from yours. But, I think if people could see that there were people struggling, because I think they sit at their armchair and they see all this stuff going on in other people's lives and they think it's perfect, and that nobody has a perfect life. Nobody.
Yeah, except on Facebook.
Yeah, except on Facebook, Twitter maybe.
Yeah, right. Well, we've shared a ton of good information today, and I really, really appreciate you being on. I've always, we've enjoyed staying in touch with you over the years, and it's fun how God brings people in and out of your life, and at the moments that they do. And so it was fun talking through some of the principles of success and what that looks like. And hopefully through that conversation, it'll be a note for others that are working their way through those ideas as well. I know you said you had a book. I want to have people be able to find you, and where can they pick up a copy of the book?
Absolutely. Well, they can, if they want to get in touch with you, to get in touch with me. That seems a little bit skewed.
Yeah, give them your...
Yeah, okay. So and by the way, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. I think it expanded a little longer than the half hour we thought. I told you, improv, you can just keep going. But my name is Laura Clancy, and my company's name is Muffin Toppled. So I can be found at muffintoppled.com. And my email is laura@muffintoppled.com. And if they email me, and I'm happy to send them a PDF of my solo book. It's called Wit and Fit. Or I have another chapter that they might really enjoy that's called A Reflective Look at Success. And that's actually one of my favorite things. I can share both with them. That's fine. I'm happy to give away. Oh, thank you. Yes, perfect.
Did I get it right there?
I can't read it all because I've got team chat up on the... Remember, we're just internet friends here, so... But yeah, that's it. Yep, laura@muffintoppled.com, and I will send them my book, a copy of my book, and happy to chat with them.
Very cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on.
Get that virtual assistant.
Yes, that is absolutely 30 days. That's the goal. So thank you for being on again, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.